story. While I was recording the third segment for this video, I realized I forgot to do my intro. So, hello disciples of the internet, how are y'all doing today? I'm Charlotte, and I'll be your hostess for tonight's event. So I've decided to take my monthly break from my mental health to bring you all more content. Artists, get your pens out. Load up Ibis, or Fire Alpaca, or fucking Photoshop if you're a heretic. Everyone else, grab something to drink, and maybe even bust out that Valentine's Day candy you got for half off. So, we all watched Hazbin Hotel and Hell of a Boss. Some of us do it religiously, some of us do it just to hate watch it, and well, some people watch Hazbin because it's way better than Hell of a Boss Season 2. Then again, the bar is quite literally in hell. If you're in the camp that watches it religiously and you're bougie enough though, you'll drop your life savings on the merch being sold on Shark Robot. And honestly, who wouldn't? Some of this shit is pretty baller. In fact, full disclosure, I have the keychain and I also have the Verosika pin on my jacket, and they are sweet as hell. And you know, this year's Valentine's Day drop seems to be no different. We got some Blitz and B merch, you know, you'll love to see it. We've also got some really good pins of Millie and Moxie, Ozzy, My Spirit Tranny, Yassified Satan, Stella, Stolas, and Mexican Stolas. Awesome. And of course, we have merch of my favorite lesbians. Everything's looking pretty great so far, you know? This merch drop looks like it'll be another baller one this year. And then you look at the merch of Glitz and Glam and you want to curl up and cry. Okay, so just hear me out real quick here. No, not in that way, you sick fucks. I know it's gonna sound like I might be grasping at straws, and you know, I probably am, but it's really fucking weird when these characters who are meant to be not just sisters, but twins, are over here either butt-ass naked or on a pole together. Like, I'm gonna keep it $1.50 with y'all. I find it really fucking odd. And it really does not help the situation when you've got not one, not two, but 3 pieces of merch, of one grabbing the other's ass. And I think the only thing that could be weirder than that is the fact that they're charging upwards of $55 for this. Capitalism is fun, isn't it? Now again, I could be reading too deep into this, and I'm more than willing to take the L if I am, but still, this isn't looking so great. But surely the reactions to this merch are normal and totally not insane, right? Disclaimer, from this point on, everything I say is not bullying and should not be interpreted as such. So, with the reveal of this merch, obviously you're gonna have people in the fandom who find a problem with it. It's the internet after all, and it's kind of a breeding ground for this sort of thing. But if there's anything the Helliverse fandom is good at, it's turning anything that shouldn't be a divisive issue into a divisive issue. Discussing controversy, I don't think people are wrong for calling the Glitz and Glam merch incest, but to get a good understanding of their characters, that's them, they aren't attracted to each other, they aren't doing it for each other, they are doing it for the audience. Already, I'm finding a problem with this. You should not be following up a statement like, I don't think people are wrong for calling it incest, with a but. That's kinda iffy to me, my guy. I just, bad vibes. Well, that's fetishy, yes, you are right, it absolutely is, but there should be no but, Jesus fucking Christ. The fetish isn't that it's twincest, it's 2 women. Does that make it any better? No. Do I support it? No. There, again, no but. That's all you need to say. Alright? It doesn't make it any better, alright? And you don't support it. Just end it there before you look fucking stupid. They are shown to be very comfortable with each other in their episode. Despite it just being one, we've learned a lot about their personalities just by their gestures, voices, facial expressions, etc. They are very money hungry and willing to do anything that gets them to the top, and they make that very clear. And then it turns into them saying they are fictional characters, this is about Vivzy Pop. Now, would I put it past Vivzy haters to jump to the most brain-dead conclusions possible? Abso-fucking-lutely not. Those people would probably compare Viv to Hitler for a show saying pee-pee-poo-poo. Allegedly. I don't know if that actually happens. Scratch that for the record. But I don't think I've really seen people on the opposing side say, they're fictional, this is about Vivzy. In fact, I've seen way more people, in defense of it, reduce it to their fictional characters, but that's something we'll touch on a little later. Now I see where you might think it's Viv's fault, but maybe consider, yes, it's fictional. Fictional writing doesn't equal beliefs of the writer. And you know, this is a valid point to make. Just because someone writes something in a work of fiction doesn't mean they actually believe in what they write. However, it's not really hard to make that assumption considering all of the other taboo shit that's appeared in Vivzi's shows. Namely things like the incest joke at the end of Unhappy Campers, the insinuation of incest that wound up in the show between Andrea Alphys and Stella, and the original dynamic they had before the show was made. And of course, you know, the glitz and glam merch getting approved. If I were delusional enough, I'd be willing to say that it's starting to look like a barely disguised fetish, but neither here nor there. Overall, feeling a light to strong 7 in terms of this Twitter thread here. I have a twin, both of us are women, and I'm sick of the fetishization of glitz and glam and just women twins in general. It sucks, I know it's hell and they're villains, but this merch glorifies and sexualizes women twins. Fiction does affect reality. And you know, I can't be mad at this one either, because they're actually qualified to speak on this shit. This is absolutely giving fetishization vibes, especially the one of the two of them, like, being nearly butt-ass naked and wrapped in, like, ribbons and shit. I know that's probably not what it is, but that's what it's giving. So, you know what? Fair. Maybe not all the takes on this merch make me want to reach for the gallon of Tide. Never mind, the internet was a fucking mistake. And this isn't just being debated on Twitter, this is spread out to the gathering of only the smartest, most big-brained, most intellectual people this side of the World Wide Web. TikTok.
The way I physically could not care less about the glitz and glam merch drama is impossible to state. The way people are talking about it, you would think that VivziePop had released merch of them straight up making out. The sexy twins fantasy is a tale as old as time. In every piece of merch, their seduction is not directed at each other, that would be weird. It's directed at the viewer, their eyes are looking out. Yeah, of course they're next to each other doing this, the whole point is that they're together. But they are not seducing each other, they're seducing the viewer. Now, would I think that having a three-way with a pair of twins is fucking weird? Yeah, I would. In reality. But when you're selling stickers of sexy fish twins, I stopped caring pretty quick. Also, all the people who are yelling at VivziePop as if she personally drew this merch, she didn't. She might have approved it, or at least approved the concept, sure, if you want to be mad at her for that. She didn't draw this, she doesn't have the fucking time. Marketing material, VivziePop doesn't make that herself. She doesn't have time. Again, she might send out concepts, she might approve it, she's not the one making it. Those posts on her YouTube, she's not writing that. If it's Instagram or Twitter, that's her. Stuff like this, no. So maybe keep that in mind before you yell at Cloud.
My sister in Christ. You're admitting that it'd be fucking weird if it happened in real life. The fact that it's merch of sexy fish twins should not make it a moral gray area for you. If you think it is, you probably should not be surprised when people jump you for saying this kind of shit. I get the argument, not agreeing with it in the slightest, but I get it.
Okay, as a twin, let me talk about the new Glitz and Glam Hell of a Boss merch, which is basically like a non-problem, but apparently there's drama because there always is. And we're actually strangely qualified for this. I'm the girl who did the Rating Twins media series, and I'm the girl who makes Hazbin and Helliverse content, and we're twins, so we're collabing. Long story short, this isn't Hell of a Boss shipping them together. This is just Glitz and Glam fetishizing themselves. Like they say in their song, wanna sell my funny slutty body to the masses. This is totally giving merch they sell to their fans in canon. One of them literally flashes their twins to the audience during Clown Bitch. The point is, they're greedy and they want fame, so they'll do anything to get it. It's hell, and they're literally villains in the episode they appear in, and their behavior isn't shown to be good. The show characterizes them as being scummy people, so this merch makes sense for their characters. Okay, the worst part of this merch is Glam touching Glitz's ass, but hey, at least they're not making out because that would be twincest. There is a line, but they haven't crossed it into twincest, okay? Hear me out.
No, the fuck I will not. You already lost me when you tried to justify it by saying they're in hell, they're villains, it's what they do. Because if that's the case, then maybe all the villains we have in real life aren't that bad. I'd also like to say that it does not help when you say that there's a line, but they aren't crossing it. Yeah, maybe it's not crossing it into direct twin sets, but it still generally crosses into the territory of the twin fetish, which is still kinda weird, but, you know, I'm not here to kink shame. Just kidding, yes the fuck I am. And also, the fact that you have to lower the bar by saying, at least they're not making out, does not give me the best vibes. Yeah, they sure as hell aren't doing that, but still, it doesn't make it any less weird. But you know what? Before I start having a stroke, I want to let my boyfriend here have a chance to air out his concerns with the merch from an artistic standpoint. Go ahead and take it away, Chase.
Hi, hey, hello, Chase here. As an artist, you tend to notice mistakes in your own art, and then it makes it easier to point out others' mistakes. Speaking of which, holy shit, if that is some interesting art. Let's talk about it. I'll talk about my complete thoughts on the art itself. Biggest thing we gotta mention is the 3 arms. Like, seriously, how do you not catch that? What I and a lot of people think happened is that these two arms were the original arms, and then when you take away the third arm, you're left with a lot of empty space at the top. So they drew the third arm and forgot to erase the second. Apparently this was fixed, and there is no third arm on the official art, but my point still stands had that ever get past approval. But even then, there's an inconsistency with the hands. Why is this hand gloved, but not this one? Why is the finger gloved on this hand, but not this hand? There's also a really confusing anatomy in places, especially with the arm and torso. These two lashes are curved differently. This bar on her arm is not only crooked, but does not have a highlight like this bar. There's also just really weird highlights here, and there shouldn't be. Like, I get the highlights here and here, however, why are there highlights on her chest? Where's the light coming in? I don't get how this got approved, honestly. At first glance, the art looks okay, but then you actually look at it for more than a few seconds, and then you're disappointed. I like Hazbin and Hello Boss as a show, however, I can't defend everything about it. Speaking of which, let's talk about that art as a whole. Do I think it's incest? No. Do I think it plays into the weird twincest fetish that is, for some reason, very popular among fandoms and shows? Also yes. If you look at the art, the twins are never engaging with each other and always looking at you, the viewer. Their whole character plot is that they want to sell their bodies to make bank, and they'll do anything for said money. Do I think that one of the only twins in the show has this as the whole thing weird? Yeah. I've seen creators and people in comment sections who are twins who see nothing wrong with it. That's their opinion. And I can see why others would be uncomfortable, and I can see why others would be fine with it. Anyways, thanks for listening to me ramble. If you want to follow me on my channel, I'd appreciate it. I do art and yap sessions about my interests from time to time, so if you'd like to see that, subscribe. And of course, follow my BBG, since she's great too. I'm gonna hand the video back to Char now.
So yeah, merch is gone. If I was an insane conspiracy theorist, I'd be saying that they took it down due to the backlash, but it's almost entirely certain that it's either because it's seasonal and the season ended, or it was just sold out. I'd be more inclined to go with the second one, considering the fact that the rest of the Glitz and Glam merch is still being sold. So yeah, the merch is gone. Does that mean we can stop complaining? Well, no, not really. Because it was still weird that it got approved in the first place. Putting aside all the artistic errors that Chase mentioned, the merch was fucking weird and was crossing into twincest territory. We can play semantics about, oh, they're fictional and oh, they're not making out, but if we have to set the bar that low to make it seem less weird, then we've not only wound up indirectly admitting that it's weird, but we've also lost the plot. Anyways, who wants to talk about a poorly written abuser? So, the other, more heavily debated part of this controversy involves the Valentino merch that was advertised in the official Hazbin Twitter. Oh yeah, nothing like a literal abuser being yassified, not just for the world to see, but to buy as well. Love that. Love that for this. And if the whole glitz and glam thing wasn't controversial enough, this caused the fandom to essentially start fucking eating itself alive. Again, on Twitter and TikTok. And it certainly wasn't helped by someone downplaying the whole thing on YouTube either. So, what was the consensus from both sides? Alright, well, let's look at the normal people first. Hazbin is the only place where people glorify a rapist and defend him like y'all wonder why we trash on your show with horrid rep. Okay, this one's a lot more funny, so I just put it here for some comic relief. On a serious note though, yeah, no, this is a fair take to have. This is literally glorifying and yassifying a rapist. And when you see what the defenders have to say, it's gonna make a lot more sense. Angel Dust, one of the poster boys of Hazbin not getting anything at all, but his rapist pimp getting merch is a choice I wouldn't have made. Yeah, no, if you look at all the merch they showed off in this post, not once was Angel Dust seen. We got the lesbians 3 times, the literal asexual, the one relationship Viv put any effort into characterizing, and the literal pimp, and yet no sign of the rest of these fuckboys. I'm wondering why the rapist got merch, but if they didn't, half her characterization in Hazbin was that she liked dudes. Merch of a canon rapist says fuck me on Valentine's Day merch. This fandom has never beaten its fetishization of rapist allegations. Vivzy Pop when she finds out she's not supposed to make the rapist character likable and into merch because of common sense. If Vivzy Pop was in charge of Wrong Organ, she'd make Valentine's Day merch of Jimmy and Anya. Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, no, a lot of the sentiment tends to come down to this guy's a piece of shit who's getting ooh woo fuck me merch made out of them, which is a valid concern to have. To go back to the last one, this would absolutely be like if Wrong Organ yassified Jimmy from mouthwashing, or for my comic book nerds out there, it'd be like making sexualized merch of Anissa from Invincible. And I think the only saving grace here is that it's Vox and Val that are being, I guess, fetishized, and not Val and Angel, because I think the Spindle Horse headquarters would be turned into a fucking battleground if Vivzy approved that. I think probably the only argument that would make sense against this is that Angel was Val's victim, and that it would be distasteful for them to do similar merch, just like how it would be weird if Mouthwashing did the same thing for, like, Anya. Probably the only saving grace, though, is that Angel was already kind of sexualized and turned into yassified merch prior to him becoming a controversial Limus thumbnail, so the damage has already kind of been done in this case. Plus, there's at least a couple of things about Angel Dust that don't make your skin crawl when you see merch of him, while Val isn't really appealing in any sort of way unless you lower your standards to a criminal degree, literally. But you know, that's just me looking at it from the point of view of someone that isn't jumping through mental hoops to defend a character who exemplifies the worst kind of person. How's it looking on the other side of the fence?
Hey, Fizzarali is not real and therefore cannot actually be exploited. Valentino is not real and therefore you cannot put actual money into his pockets. I'm not saying this for any particular reason, I'm just pointing it out.
I just want to know, how are you saying this with a straight face? Like, you're sitting here downplaying this because, oh, you aren't putting money in Val's pocket, and meanwhile your face is straighter than Vivzy Pop's fanbase. Again, we can do the whole semantics thing about it being fiction all you want, but it's not changing the fact that I fucking hate it here. You do not have to be physically putting money into the pimp's pocket to be aware of the fact that he's a piece of shit, and you probably shouldn't be turning him into a runway model. Hey, for the morons in the quote retweets, you do realize that Vox is just as bad as Valentino, right? And that they're Viv's characters, not yours? OMG, why would she make merch of a rapist? Viv is basically Hitler. Junko and Oshima, the Joker, Harley Quinn, Dio, Darth Vader, Gaston, Homelander, Pennywise, Voldemort, Frieza, Scar, Jafar, and especially Frollo. All of them are villains that are evil and even have merchandise of them, yet no one bats an eye. People also love them, but they do not agree with their actions. We have already been through this shit before. Now for the people that keep commenting the obvious statement, we know, and we do not condone Val's actions. We like him as a villain and his design. Fucking horrible taste, but I'm just not gonna say anything. You don't have to like him, but dislike and move on. You don't need to keep repeating over and over again. Like, who the fuck cares if there's a merch of a villain being made? There's more characters just as worse as Valentino, but no, I don't think you psychos want that conversation. 1. Playing the "this character is as bad as that person" card doesn't make your argument valid, it just means there's two shitty characters on the same merch piece and they probably shouldn't be there. 2nd, having to create a made-up and frankly disturbing straw man to make your argument stick doesn't make you the smartest person in the room. There's obviously probably some deranged people out there who would compare Viv to Hitler. Not like I would know because I haven't seen any, but it wouldn't be because she's making merch of a pimp. It'd be for other reasons. Thirdly, listing off villains who have merch doesn't put them on the same level as Valentino. I can't speak for any of the anime villains because I touched too much grass to know who they are or what they did, but I can say that all these other villains from the knowledge that I have from their source material aren't on the same level. Maybe Joker, depending on what iteration you're talking about, but the rest of them are just your usual murderers and shit. Also, some of these are literally fucking Disney villains. They're meant to be in kids' movies. These are kids' movie villains. Oh hey, it's post-recording clarity Shar here. I know that it kinda seems like I'm ironically lowering the bar by saying, oh, these are Disney villains, or oh, these are kids' movie villains, and therefore we shouldn't be holding them to the same standard. Just to clarify, like, I know that Disney has done darker villains before, especially in their earlier works, like Scar from The Lion King, and also whatever that guy's name was from Emperor's New Groove, or was it Princess and the Frog? I forgot which one, but I know that there have been darker villains in Disney movies before, and I'm not going to argue that, but what I'm saying is that it comes down to them being Disney, like Disney villains, and therefore they're still kind of like milquetoast, stereotypical cartoon villains, and they're still in that sort of territory where they aren't really comparable to a character like Valentino. And you know, of course, again, It's a Disney, like of course there's gonna be merchandise made of them, it's fucking Disney, it's made to appeal to the Disney crowd, and meanwhile, you have Valentino, who is dressed like he's about to go shoot a cover for Playboy, but neither here nor there. Back to the entertainment. And the other ones are basically just blue-collar villains who are well-known even by normies who know little to nothing about their background. That's why there's merch made of them with zero issue. And as for the Disney villains, they're fucking Disney villains. Of course there's gonna be merch made of them, like, they're in Disney movies. Why wouldn't they do that? And fourthly, no shit, you don't have to like a villain's actions to like them. The difference is, if you're liking them to where you overlook the fact that they're a literal rapist in favor of arguing with people like a Muppet, people are obviously going to have a problem. And since we're on the topic of people defending Val by bringing up other villains, every time someone complains about Valentino merch being a thing because some villains are too gross to have merch, or why sell merch of a rapist, show them this picture. Now again, I touch too much grass to know who this is or what they did. All I can say though is that you're making the wrong comparison for the simple reason that the anime community is full of degenerates. Of course, those people aren't going to bat an eye to shit like this. You would have a better comparison if you point to a character in your favorite show that has done similar things with little issue. Otherwise, you just sound like a clown. Oh, and you remember that thread that covered glitz and glam earlier? Well, but he's a rapist, it's a fetish. Once again, writing fiction doesn't equal beliefs. It's true he's a terrible character, but if we say that about him, we have to say that about Vox and Alistair. Those two are just as bad as Valentino, perhaps Vox even worse. Isn't Vox just like CEO stereotype and Alistair's just a fucking cannibal? Are we really comparing a cannibal and a fucking CEO to a literal pimp and abuser? Is this the hill we're going to die on? And again, on the topic of the whole fetish thing, I do want to bring up that there's been multiple instances of sexual assault being turned into kind of like a comedy routine or as a plot device. Like, you have the whole angel dust scene, we all know Poison, and then we all know the scene with Pentious in that club, ironically called Consent, and we know about the scene with Moxie in Hell of a Boss episode 3, I believe. Again, with how all of these scenes are showing up, some of them even played for comic relief. Again, it's starting to look like either a poorly disguised fetish or a mishandling of sensitive topics. Post-recording clarity Char here again. I just want to make it very clear. I am not saying that it is a poorly disguised fetish or whatever. What I'm trying to say is that with how it's been plastered throughout her shows and how it's been so poorly handled, and again, considering all of the other taboo shit that's appeared in Helva and Hazbin, and how everything has kind of been turned into like a sex joke or like a fucking king statement, it does start to look like something of that nature when you put it up against everything else. Of course, I could be wrong, and I'd be more than happy to take my L if I'm reading too deep into this, but that's what it looks like from a cursory glance. How do we know this? Rewatch the show and take notes on Vox himself. How he behaves, how he acts controlling. He's a mastermind, therefore a shitty person just like Val. People's reasons for wanting this merch doesn't affect you. Don't buy it, don't be rude. Don't complain to Vivzipop because it's not her problem and she has every right to not give a fuck. What people need to learn in this generation is to not give a fuck. You're absolutely right. Viv shouldn't give a fuck about the ethics of yesifying a literal rapist. She should instead be focusing on the countless allegations of her either stealing character designs or lying about her crew being victims instead of whining on fucking Twitter and Blue Sky. Before we move on to the next thing, I could be wrong on this, I could be fucking stoned, but I could have sworn that I saw someone on Twitter arguing that what Val did was an assault while comparing him to Alistair and such to downplay the whole merch situation. If that tweet does exist and anyone's found it, let me know, because I could have sworn I saw it somewhere. Anyways, on to the final thing for today, and it's just more of the same. I fucking hate it here. People attacking because there's Val merch. Dude, you can despise the character, but criticizing it? He's a fictional character, he's supposed to be a villain. As long as you don't support the actions in real life, it's okay to like a villain that didn't abuse real people. You people need help. So that's essentially what I dug up on the situation from both sides. What did we learn today? Well, I don't really think we learned anything other than this shit was fucking weird and people are weird for defending it. But we also kinda learned the depressing reality as to why this stuff keeps happening in the fanbase. Vivzy knows that her fans can jump to her defense whenever she does outrageous shit. Her show is literally tailored to be a whole big fandom Tumblr show in the same vein as like Steven Universe or Digital Circus. That's why she keeps pushing the boundaries of what she can do. You know, the references to incest, use of assault as a comedic device, the merch stuff, yada yada. And that's why the latest merch drop was either bordering on twincest or yassifying the worst kind of person. Because her fans are stupid and will jump on the most, for lack of a better word, optically retarded swords possible to argue in favor of her doing stuff like this. And as much as I'd love to say that it needs to stop, I know that it probably won't. At the end of the day, all I can really ask for is that one day people wake up and tell her like it is so we can get both good shows and good merch. Because that's what the people deserve. And just to go on a little final tangent here, this isn't me saying, oh, you can't have controversial characters in media. You obviously can. It's just that it's handled so poorly and turned into such a fucking joke that it's not done very well. But with that, that's all I really have to say. If you like this, go ahead, do the usual YouTube shit, like, subscribe, whatever. And also, join the Discord server. Depending on when I upload this, I will be doing a voice call on Friday with all the people in my server, Little Weekly VC, you're welcome to join. And also, on Sunday we will be watching Sonic 3 and Night of the Werehog, so if that interests you, go ahead, join, link in the description. And of course, follow all the links to my socials and my stills artist. And with that, this has been Charlotte, suffering on the inside, signing out. Have a good one.